What if the person you love the most is dying right in front of you, and the only thing you can do is listen to their heartbeat fade away? Would you give up, or would you spend your whole life trying to bring that heartbeat back, even when the world calls it impossible? This is the true story of a man who made a broken heart beat again, a man who fought failure, loneliness, and time itself to create a miracle the world said could never exist. The story of Wilson Great Batch, the man who gave humanity back its rhythm. Buffalo, New York, winter of 1954. The snow outside was quiet, but inside the small house, all Wilson could hear was the uneven thump of his father's heart, each beat slower than the last, weaker, fading. The doctor shook his head, whispering,
"There's nothing we can do now. His heart has lost its rhythm."
Wilson sat by his father's bedside, gripping his cold hand. The monitor flickered weakly. Beep, 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 then silence.
He screamed, "No, come back, please." But silence stayed.
That night, he sat in the dark, staring at his father's tools, a half-finished radio on the table. He remembered his father's words from years ago.
"Son, everything in this world has rhythm, even machines. You just have to find it."
As tears rolled down his face, Wilson whispered,
"Then I'll find your rhythm again, Dad, I promise."
Wilson was an engineer, not a doctor, not a scientist from a big lab, just a small town man with big hands and small dreams. But after that night, he changed. He joined a biomedical project at the University of Buffalo, determined to find a way to restart a dead heart. When he shared his idea, an electronic device that could give a dying heart a pulse, his colleagues laughed.
"Wilson, do you even realize how absurd that sounds?"
You can't replace nature with wires.
But Wilson didn't argue. He just smiled faintly and said,
"If nature can make rhythm, then maybe man can too."
He started working late nights, alone in the lab, hungry, tired, and broke. Sometimes he would stare at a small jar containing a pig's heart and whisper,
"I'll make you beat again."
He spent years studying heart signals, building, failing, burning circuits, starting again. Each failure felt like his father dying all over again. In 1956, after hundreds of failed attempts, Wilson was building another circuit to record heartbeats. He was exhausted, no sleep for 2 days, hands shaking from too much coffee. By accident, he picked the wrong resistor, a small component that changed the electric flow. He connected the wires and flipped the switch, and then thump, pause, thump, pause. He froze. That wasn't static. That was a rhythm. Perfect, steady, alive. He pressed his ear close. The tiny machine pulsed just like a beating heart.
He shouted, "Oh my God, I found it."
Then suddenly, puff, the circuit shorted and burned out. He stared at the smoke rising from the table. The heart had stopped again. He laughed through tears.
"You're teasing me, aren't you, Dad? Just one beat and gone again."
But he knew what he'd heard, and he swore he'd bring it back, permanently. He had no funding, no lab, and no one believed him. So he built his own lab in a barn behind his house. It was freezing in winter and boiling in summer. Rats chewed his cables, rain leaked through the roof, and sometimes, when the circuits exploded, fire would flicker on the workbench. But Wilson never gave up. Every night, he soldered wires with trembling hands, his wife Eleanor bringing him coffee and saying softly,
"You can't fight death, Wilson."
And he'd whisper,
"Then I'll trick it."
Money ran out. He sold his car, he sold his radio, even his wedding ring. Once sat in a pawn shop for a week until he could buy more parts. He tested his prototypes on animal hearts, goats, dogs, pig. Most of them failed. Sometimes the current was too strong and the heart stopped completely. Each time, he'd bury the small animal behind his barn and whisper,
"I'm sorry, I'll get it right next time.
One rainy night, after his 72nd failed attempt, he smashed his tools and screamed.
Maybe they were right. Maybe you can't bring back a heart.
He fell to his knees and cried until he slept on the cold floor. But when he woke up the next morning and saw sunlight through the cracks of the barn, he remembered his father's words again.
Everything has rhythm.
And he started again. After years of isolation, pain, and failure, he finally built a device small enough, stable enough to be tested. He approached doctors at Buffalo's hospital. They hesitated.
Wilson, if this fails on a human heart, you'll be ruined.
And if I don't try, someone else will die.
A 77-year-old man, his heart failing, agreed to the experimental surgery. His wife whispered to Wilson,
"He's all I have left. Please don't let him go."
In the operating room, everything felt still. The man's chest was open, his heart barely moving, weak flutters. Wilson's device was connected. The doctor looked at him.
Ready?
He nodded. The switch clicked. For one terrifying second, nothing. Then, thump. The monitor beeped. Another thump. Then again, steady, strong. Everyone gasped. The surgeon whispered,
It's working. It's really working.
Wilson felt tears blur his vision. His hands trembled.
Dad, I did it. I brought it back.
That heartbeat didn't just save one man, it changed the future of medicine forever. The first successful implantable pacemaker was born. Soon, hospitals across America and around the world began using Wilson's design. Children who were born with weak hearts could finally live normal lives. Elderly people got to see their grandchildren grow up. Wilson began receiving letters every month. Because of you, my son is alive. You didn't just fix a heart, you fixed a family. He kept every single letter in a small wooden box under his bed labeled, "For Dad." When asked why he kept working alone, he said, because sometimes miracles don't come from big labs. They come from small barns and broken hearts. But success didn't make his life easier. He suffered from exhaustion, stress, and near bankruptcy. At one point, he almost lost his home. Yet every time he felt like giving up, he'd close his eyes and hear that first thump in his head, and that was enough. Decades passed. Wilson grew older, his hair turned white, his hands weaker. Ironically, his own heart began to fail. The doctors told him he needed help, a pacemaker. He smiled and said,
I think I know a good one.
They implanted the same kind of device he had invented 40 years earlier. Now, every time his chest rose and fell, he could feel that little machine, his machine, keeping him alive. He once told his wife,
Eleanor, it's strange. The thing I made to save others is now saving me. She smiled softly. Maybe that's how love works, Wilson. You give it away, and it comes back.
Wilson Greatbatch passed away in 2011, but his invention still beats inside millions of people around the world, in hospitals from America to India, from cities to villages. Every time a heart starts again, his story starts again. He once said before he died, I didn't invent a pacemaker, I invented a second chance. And that's what his life was. One man, one promise, one impossible dream that came true through pain, loss, and faith. So the next time you hear the steady beep, beep of a heart monitor, remember, there was once a man who listened to silence and refused to accept it, because sometimes a miracle doesn't start with hope, it starts with heartbreak.